Replacing valve steam seals on a German French breech of Union EP6 engine without removing the timing. From digging around the internet, I found you can swap the seals without tearing down the timing and pulling the cams. Spoiler, I only managed it on the exhaust valves, step by step below. First, remove the valve cover, unclip the coils, pull them, unscrew the plugs, and I bolt the cover. Mileage is over 160k. The engine is pretty dirty. No signs the cams were ever off. I think nobody changed the seals before me. Note, I'm not a pro. My tools are crap. So it was slow and painful. I'd still recommend pulling the timing. I had to finish in one evening, so it is what it is. First, you need to pop off the rocker. I used a compressor tool to press the spring a little and flick it off with a screwdriver. At first, the camshaft blocked the universal valve spring compressor from pressing the spring at the right angle. So I upgraded it with an angle grinder. Next, ideally, you prop the valve with air. The kit had an adapter that screws into the spark plug, so you can pump the compressed air into the cylinder. It didn't fit mine. Why include a non-universal fitting in a universal kit is a mystery to me. So we'll use the garage method. So do this at your own risk. Set the piston to the top dead center using a high precision measuring metal rod. The piston will be our support for the valve. Compress the spring with a modified tool and pull out the keepers, the retainer, and the spring. Then pull the seal out. The new valve seams came with a plastic tube. I assumed it's to protect the lip during the installation. Lube it and slide it on. Don't forget to remove the plastic guide after. Now, suffer through fitting the spring and the keepers back. Not as simple at all. Besides the cam being in the way, when you compress the spring, the valve moves down because there's clearance between the valve and the piston in the cylinder. That makes the job a nightmare since you have to compress fully for assembly. By the last valve, my hands were toast. At first, I tried to pull the valve back with whatever was at hand. What worked at the end was a carefully compression, trying not to push the valve. Once that worked, time to install the keepers. I first tried with tweezers and tiny tools, after smearing the valve seam and the keeper with a heavy grease so they stick. Turned out the simplest and the most reliable way was to stick the keeper to my finger with that same grease and drop it in. Here I still managed to stiff it in with tweezers. As soon as one keeper is seated and you can release the spring and use that single keeper to pull the valve up. That makes installing the second keeper much easier. Strongly recommended stuffed every opening with a rack and tiles. I ignored that at first, and a couple of times I was mentally ready to drop the old pain. Repeat 7 more times. You'll get faster as you go, but your hands will be shot from the constant spring compression. Last valves at the ends take longer since access is tight. After the keepers are in and everything looks right, throw the rocker back on. Compress the spring again to slip the rocker in. Seat it and remove the tool. Also, check that the other end of the rocker didn't slip off the lifters. After all seals are replaced, clean up the work area. Process to final checkup before startup. Get under the car and turn the crank, preferably clockwise, so you don't accidentally loosen the pulley nut. Ask your wife to confirm everything moves as it should. If so, move on to the cover. Pull all the rubber from the old cover and wash it with a cleaner. The cover is as filthy as the engine, so cleaning takes time. After clean, install new seals. Reinstall the cover. Torque it into 2 passes to the spec from the manual. The old gasket was sealed additionally at the corners. Looks like the cover is a bit warped since it started to piss oil from the same spots over time. Maybe I could have torqued it harder since it leaked anyways. Whatever. Also, torque the spark plugs to the spec since the wrench is already out. Reconnect the crank ventilation holes, refill the coils, plug in the wiring, clean up and do a test start. If everything is fine and the valves didn't say hello to the cylinder, you can take a moment for a self-pride. Through the oil filler, you can at least see the nearest valves working fine. And the intake valve seals virtually impossible to replace without pulling the timing. I have no idea how that one guy in the internet did it. Well, half new parts is still better than nothing. Plus, the intake seals supposedly last longer anyways due to the lower thermal load.